Yeah, another point I wanted to make in regard to Iglesias' article is that you wrote a piece. You were heavily critical, but you were polite and respectful, as you always are. And we tagged Iglesias several times, at least twice. And those tweets in which he was tagged were liked a lot of times, so he undoubtedly saw them.
Yes.
But he didn't say a word in response.
If I were to speculate, and I'm going to, that means, so allow me to speculate. uh, Not flattering my ego at all. It's not that I'm particularly clever, it's that his arguments are particularly inane. I suspect he understands that he has a very weak hand in this round of poker, and he's silently folding it and walking away from the table.
He
Because
wasn't holding two aces.
there was definitely not a full house under that. So I'm assuming that he probably, I mean, I suppose like you could say he's like deluded and he thinks he has a good argument, but also believes that I'm tainted by my support
Well,
of racial hierarchy.
I did
So
notice that he responded to a tweet, a criticism of him by IO. That's a prominent Twitter account
yes.
who comments a lot on race differences and IQ. So, and IO is presumably similarly tainted to you
Oh,
in
interesting. So
his
what
mind.
was his response to
Oh,
IO? I did not.
I didn't read in detail the discussion,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure that he did respond to
Okay.
him.
So potentially he would get in the mud with race realists.
This was, of course, in on Twitter rather than on his
Right.
Substack,
Right.
where the comments would receive much more attention.
I mean, it is a bit frustrating, I would say. It has nothing to do with like my stature, which I understand is not, I'm not particularly prominent or anything, but that article did reasonably well. Certainly he saw it. It was retweeted enough. I dislike it quite a bit that people can make these fatuous arguments, arguments that don't stand up to a, like 2 minutes of scrutiny. And then when somebody takes the time to criticize them fairly, as you said, like I think I tried to be as charitable as possible. In fact, I deleted a paragraph that, oh, I went a little overboard on it. And I was like, okay, let's scale that back a bit.
Deleted
But
the word
I
moron.
have a, I would be happy to have a cordial debate with Iglesias anytime, anywhere on his terms. But he just gets to, because he has the right view, as it were, he just gets to avoid it. He gets
Yeah.
to write something spectacularly inane and then like go off and do something else, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to add on the Iglesias article before we shift to another topic?
I would just say I feel more strongly about this now than I have ever in my adult hereditarian life. That is, classical liberalism is not only perfectly consistent with discussing group differences, honestly. I think it's necessary. I think it requires it at this point. Because if you don't do that, a political philosophy that's based largely on encouraging freedom, free markets, free speech, etc., will inevitably run into problems because it will generate inequality. I
Mm.
mean, it generates, of course, individual inequality, and that causes some tension. But I think on net we say, okay, that's better because the pie grows more, and we can try to redistribute to alleviate these problems. But with like race difference, it's going to cause race differences inevitably. Classical liberal political systems will lead to massive disparities, and if we can address those disparities with the truth, somebody will provide an appealing alternative explanation. And that explanation will probably be racism.